Catching flies in his mouth, tasting freedom while he danced, then crawling back to the top of the stairs. He won't see the sun again for years to come. He's broken out in love.
Alexa, play Open Back. Alexa, play Open Back.
Like a cat, running freely through the streets. You could find him in amongst the pigeons in the square. But he won't see the sun again for years to come. He's broken out in love. I'll see the sun again for years to come. It's broken out in love. Broken out in love.
Welcome everybody into a special edition of Tiger. Hopefully, yes. If you can blow that out. We are here today off the heels of an amazing ending to Monday Night Raw that saw a little bit to do with what our topic is here today. Of course, we're talking back on the Wyatt family, and of course, the debut of the Wyatt Six from this past Monday night on Raw. Without further ado, give our introductions. I am, of course, host Tony, joined by Eddie. Welcome to the show, man. Nice little rest in peace for Willie Mays, who unfortunately we lost yesterday.
Yeah, thank you so much. We lost a lot of good people, not especially Willie Mays and Bray Wyatt last year, Wyndham. Very sad day, but also it's a time to celebrate both great creative genius, and one in professional wrestling and one in Major League Baseball.
Indeed. And of course, got the leader of the Pound, Z-Dog John, in here as well.
What up?
Not only do we have to bring up the great Bray Wyatt, of course, as you seen in that picture, perhaps. Can't forget Mr. Brody Lee, Luke Harper, as well, was, of course, one of the founding members of the Wyatt family, who we lost a few years back, almost 4 years ago now, too. So, 1.5. So you wouldn't think, when you talk about the Wyatt family, you'd think there'd be a whole lot really to talk about, but they did a lot over the few years that they were really a faction. I mean, I guess it was close to 10, well, not quite 10 years, but still. In the time that they were a faction, we've seen so many people come and go as part of the faction. So many huge rivalries for Bray, not just Bray, but also the other members of the Wyatt family as well. The inclusions of different people, as mentioned, we'll go over all that. We can't start this, though, when you talk about the Wyatt family without bringing up what led to the Wyatt family. I mean, Bray Wyatt was in a rut. He had just left WWE's main roster as Husky Harris at that point in time, after a terrible run. Was looking for a new character, just was trying to find himself, if you will, with creative, with a little help, I'm sure, from the American Dream back then in NXT. And out of all that, we would get these weird vignettes, the new side of Bray Wyatt. And eventually it would lead to, we'd get to see him, but he wouldn't be alone. So we know when Bray Wyatt...
Absolutely. Absolutely. And at least he wasn't a Michael McGillicuddy.
True.
Let me just say that. Now I'm going to let you do what you have to do.
Michael McGillicuddy, of course, Curtis Axel is well known as, but still. Bray Wyatt, when he would appear eventually in the NXT arena, would come with a certain Mr. Brody Lee. Luke Harper would be the first Wyatt family follower, if you will. What do you guys remember of seeing the vignettes leading up to the debut of Bray Wyatt, and not only just his debut, but him bringing along Luke Harper as the first, so as to speak, follower for the Wyatt family?
I mean, you can't really say first follower because they were introduced as the Sons.
Technically,
Yes, true.
when I remember about the Wyatt family is when they debuted, WWE was transitioning away from Florida Championship Wrestling. And all that. If you look at some of the documentary, you had Luke Harper, you had Eric Rowan, Bray Wyatt, Mr. Brody Lee, and nobody ever noticed it, but even Summer Rae was supposed to be in the group, but she didn't want to do it creepy way, so they took her out. But when Bray came out, that man was a genius. He come out and he's acting like a cult leader with his Hawaiian shirt, sitting on the rocking chair, and then you got these two big monsters destroying guys like, and if I'm wrong, I think Harper and Rowan's first match was against the future tag team champions of NXT, Corey Graves and his tag team partner. I forgot who it was, but their first match was with them. Corey Graves had a match with Harper and Rowan in NXT.
Oh, you're talking about Corey and Cassius Ohno?
I think it was, wasn't it?
I thought, didn't they win in their debut and get the titles?
I thought they did, but Eric
No.
Rowan and
So I got the info right here. When Eric Rowan and Luke Harper debuted as a tag team, it was actually as part of the NXT Tag Team Championship tournament. And their first opponents were Percy Watson and Yoshi Tatsu on January 23rd, 2013.
Oh, wow.
Percy
Talk about
Watson.
a throwback.
Holy shit, I haven't heard that name in years.
Showtime. Percy Watson.
The Steve Urkel of NXT.
Pretty much. And then after that team, they would beat Bo Dallas and Michael McGillicuddy in the semifinals with help from Bray, who was actually just on screen helping them because he had torn his pec and had to have surgery, so he couldn't really get physical. And then in the finals of the NXT Championship Tournament, Harper and Rowan lost to Adrian Neville and Oliver Gray.
Who?
In other words, the Bastard Pack and a nobody. Oh.
Okay, I know who Pack is, but who?
Oliver Gray. He had the look of somebody that you would think would be a big star in WWE, but he just never clicked in NXT. I feel like he got injured.
I'm looking this crap up right now. I want to see what this guy looks like.
It sounds like it sounds like an off-brand tea company.
It sounds like someone that's supposed to be in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, I know.
What was his name again?
Oliver Gray. Grey. Yep. But Harper and Rowan would go on to eventually beat Adrian Neville and Bo Dallas, who would fill in for an injured Gray to win the NXT Tag Team titles.
Well, that was better for him. Or he just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna leave the company because nobody knows who I am."
Right.
Oh, this dude was built like a beast, 6'2", 240.
I told you. He had the look of somebody that Vince McMahon probably would want to push.
It's like a British Batista.
Almost. It wasn't what's his name, right? The guy that was in an CM Punk's.
Here, I'll show you an even better picture.
For the first time, I'm actually stumbled on who the hell this motherfucker was.
I know, right?
Also, him and Neville were their inaugural NXT Tag Title Champions.
I thought it was Bo Dallas, he said.
No, Gray was Neville. Bo Dallas was with McGillicuddy.
Yeah. Man, they had some weird names in that group. You had Ryback called Skip Sheffield.
Fully. Yeah. Yeah, you might be able to see that picture a little bit better than what John was showing you.
Oh my God, yeah. You know what? I thought I saw him like once and twice, and then all of a sudden, bam, he just went away. I mean,
that's what happens when Batista. That's what happens when Batista has a kid with Rob Conway.
Damn, he has that British Bulldog look.
He's only 37 years old.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Let's see if he still wrestles.
I mean, congratulations on winning the title and then leaving the company, you douche.
British Ambition, they were known as back then. Him and Neville.
That's when Neville was happier.
And he wrestled with NXT through 2014, but he's been in All-Star Wrestling since 2017 to current day and appeared in All Japan Pro Wrestling for a little while. So yeah, he still wrestles. Anyway, now that we went down that rabbit hole and found somebody that had to remind you guys who he was.
Yeah.
Once Bray came back from injury, he would beat Yoshitatsu on his first match. The Wyatt family would later that same night, February 20th, attack Oliver Gray, who had suffered a legitimate injury, while Wyatt prevented Bo Dallas from winning an NXT Championship #1 Contenders match due to Bo's refusal to join his brother in the family. Bo went on to hand Bray his first loss on the March 13th episode of NXT. And then on May 2nd, Wyatt was defeated by Chris Jericho, but Harper and Rowan won a triple threat elimination tag team match by last pinning Neville to earn a shot at the tag titles, which they'd win May 8th from Bo Dallas and Neville. And they would have a rivalry with Corey Graves and Cassius Ohno, as you mentioned.
And first of all, how dare Bo Dallas reject his own brother, and then a couple of years later, he becomes Uncle Howdy. How dare he?
I know, right?
Do it on his terms.
Yep.
Because that believe shit didn't really believe.
What do you mean? I believe.
I don't know. He had so many different characters, from him just walking in with them red gloves in at the Royal Rumble one year to believe and then becoming a disc jockey for The Miz. And, I think this is going to be his best stuff about Taylor. I think he's going to show people he's twisted just like his brother.
Yeah, William Regal even became involved in the rivalry against the Wyatt family with Graves and Neville.
Shit, he was still wrestling at the time?
Off and on.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Regal's last Royal Rumble was 2011.
Yeah. Then he had that
Harper and Rowan,
right?
Yeah. Harper and Rowan would eventually lose the tag team titles to Adrian Neville and Corey Graves. It was pretty much after they lost those tag team titles that we'd start seeing the vignettes for the Wyatt family on Monday Night Raw. But a little side note before we go into that portion of it. During the early process of creation for the Wyatt family, there was 2 other men that were considered before Harper and Rowan were picked. Do you guys have any idea who either one of those 2 men were? I'll give you a hint. One of them's still in WWE.
Like
the other one's in
WWE
AEW.
or NXT WWE.
He's actually on SmackDown right now.
Odyssey Jones.
That dude's on Raw.
He wasn't nowhere near.
Okay.
Huh?
For some reason, the one that keeps popping in my head that's currently active and on SmackDown, but I don't think he was there that long ago. And that is Theory.
No, that wasn't Theory.
And it was closer than Odyssey Jones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it people from the accept I can never say that goddamn name of that team. The guy from the Wasteland. The tag team.
No, because they're not on SmackDown currently.
Oh, okay. Damn.
And the one's in
One
TNA.
of the 2 guys is currently in SmackDown, the other guy's in AEW.
Wait a minute. Do I know the AEW guy?
I mean, you guys might know who the AEW guy is, but we'll see.
I don't know the other two. Only one I know is
Give
Eric.
me 1 second.
You can go ahead and try and figure out, John. I'll tell you who the SmackDown guy was while you're looking. The lone wolf himself, Baron Corbin.
What?
Baron Corbin was originally one of them that they thought of putting in the Wyatt family. Was considered to be part of the stable.
That would have been because he was fresh.
Is this person a champion at all in AEW?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Claudio?
Nope, not Claudio.
Hmm.
Not even close.
What about Ambrose? Moxley?
Nope. Nobody from the BCC.
Damn.
Are they white or black?
White.
Big Cass?
Small? Are they smaller?
No.
So it's a big guy.
Yeah.
Is he 7 feet tall and you can't see that?
No, it's not a Big Cass.
Yeah. Oh, man. The Big Show?
Nope.
Oh, jeez.
Matthews?
No.
I mean, Murphy, whatever the hell his name was?
Nope.
Brody King?
Brian Cage.
No.
But that'd be a good fit.
Tamatonga? I mean,
is it a tag team superstar?
He has been.
Is he most known for being a tag team star?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Is he part of a current tag team in AEW?
He's part of a faction anyway.
Juice Robinson?
Huh?
Juice Robinson?
Jack Swagger.
No.
He's not even with the
even
company
in
anymore.
Give up yet?
Yeah.
No, I'm only in the G's.
I'm done.
You might be
He's
surprised.
part of a faction. He's a bigger guy.
Yep.
Was he a champion at all in NXT?
I got it. Michael Cole.
I don't think he was ever a champion in NXT, no. But he has been a champion in AEW before.
Like what? World champion? TNT champion?
Nope. Well, yeah,
Tag
I guess
champion.
it technically was. Yes.
I can't say Darby Allin because he was too small then.
Oh, is it? Oh, what the hell is his name? The tall dude who he was on a season of Big Brother. Luchasaurus.
Yes. Kill Switch, Luchasaurus, Judas
Holy-
Devlin, as he was.
What was his name in NXT?
Wasn't
Judas
it just
Devlin.
Austin Madison? Oh yeah, Judas.
Judas Devlin was what he went by in NXT.
I would have said what's his name, but he don't even wrestle anymore. The guy from the guys from the Rosebud when he was that Australian bitch.
Adam Rose?
Yeah.
Isn't he
He
fat
still
now?
wrestles sometimes in the Indies.
No, he buffed up, man.
He did. Like I said, he still wrestles on the Indies once in a while. But yeah, Judas Devlin and Baron Corbin were considered during the early processes of the creation of the Wyatt family.
Yeah,
okay. I could see that. Yeah.
Okay, they did an excellent job with putting Eric and Mr. Brody Lee perfect hands down because they look creepy as fuck.
Right? Yes. All right. So from that, like I said, they started airing vignettes on Raw. Rowan wearing the sheep mask, all that fun stuff. July 8th, 2013 Monday Night Raw would see the Wyatt family make their debut. Who would be their first target? A future Hall of Famer. The Big Red Machine, Kane.
Oh,
Now, how
Talk
did
about
a
coming
bigger
out from the
impact
depths of hell.
Yeah, right? But he wasn't their only target, as they'd also attack R-Truth, I guess another name from the past, Justin Gabriel, and a certain 3-man band, aka Heath Slater, Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal.
I think we're all happy that happened.
But
And
you
they
did
would,
forget one tidbit. You said future Hall of Famer for Kane. But
Yes.
where's the future Hall of Famer for R-Truth? Because we all know it's going to happen. The first time he's eligible,
Kane's
it's going to
already in
freaking happen.
Kane's already in the Hall of Fame. That's why I said that.
Okay.
Oh.
We all can say this. R-Truth has wrestled with legends. Andre the Giant,
Yes.
you know, the APA.
And don't forget the story he got from his childhood hero, the one you can't see.
The Boogeyman.
Can't see.
I mean, look, here, 2 weeks ago, he had a meeting with the Boogeyman.
Don't forget he had those wonderful tag team matches with DX.
I know.
Yes.
Yep. And we found out.
Back on top.
And then we found out that Triple H is a magician.
Yes.
This Houdini got you too?
Yeah. Well,
back to the Wyatt family. The first big match you'd see for any of the Wyatt family would, of course, be at SummerSlam 2013, when Bray Wyatt would go on to face Kane in the first ever Ring of Fire match, formerly known as the Inferno match, but it was a little bit different.
Down in a burning ring of fire.
Yep. Which, of course, Bray Wyatt would win at SummerSlam with help from Harper and Rowan, and then they would carry Kane to the back after the match. And then would come the next thing that I mentioned, Battleground on October 6th. Wyatt's momentum would continue with a win over Kofi Kingston. Rowan and Harper competed as a tag team, went on winning streaks over many teams before they would get their first loss on the main roster on October 11th, SmackDown, to Goldust and Cody Rhodes. So that's something Cody Rhodes could take solace in, or whatever you want to call it. He ended the undefeated streak for Harper and Rowan's part of the Wyatt family on the main roster, just like he ended the undefeated streak for the Shield on the main roster.
Just like he defeated Roman fucking Reigns. Shut up, Omar.
Omar.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be an LA Knights voice, though. Not when we're talking about the Wyatt family. That should be, yeah.
Well, so wait, mine just sound like Matt Hardy. My bad.
Yeah, you sound like Matt Hardy. Delete.
Yeah.
Delete. We'll get into him, though, too. Can't talk Wyatts and not talk Matt Hardy eventually. Of course, from there, the Wyatt family would go on to have a rivalry with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. We get the Survivor Series where Harper and Rowan would lose a tag match to Bryan and Punk. I remember that match. That was a really good tag team match between those four guys. I mean, why wouldn't it be when it's Harper, Rowan, Punk, and Bryan? But we'd get from there I mean, you go on to TLC where you get a 3-on-1 handicap match between the Wyatt family and Daniel Bryan. Throughout all that, they were trying. Bray Wyatt was trying to recruit Daniel Bryan to the faction. The Wyatt family would win at TLC. On the final Raw of 2013, Bryan would defeat Harper and then Rowan in a gauntlet match that would lead to Bryan versus Wyatt 1-on-1, which Harper and Rowan would interview, cause a DQ, beat down on Bryan, till Bryan finally gave up and gave in to join the Wyatt family, as Daniel Bryan would become the 4th member of the Wyatt family.
Yep, and also their janitor.
Yes, pretty much is what he looked like. What do you guys take and remember from the rivalries they had with Punk and Bryan, and especially you got to talk about Daniel Bryan, and everything that transpired with him, eventually leading to him joining the faction. Before we get into what happened as he's part of it,
John, you got first, my brother.
I mean, my favorite part of that is we'll get to in a second when it comes to that wonderful steel cage.
Right.
I think when they first came in, they were like, they didn't give a crap who they hurt, who they had. The match with Bray against Kane in the Ring of Fire match. Kane's ability to wrestle like he did before was, Bray carried half of that match. You know, and that was good. But the match with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, that was good. And then the stuff working with Daniel Bryan, and he joined the Wyatt family and became a janitor for the family and stuff like that. And yeah, it was some good feuds, but like we keep continuing when we get down the road, the Wyatts got more stronger and they got more great matches towards the end. But yeah, I think their first couple of months in the company, they got some good competition.
Yeah. So once Bryan had joined the Wyatt family, Bray would punish Bryan. In leading into, as you mentioned, that steel cage match on Monday Night Raw between Daniel, and getting in there, taking his frustrations out on the Wyatt family, leaving the Wyatt family. It's pretty much the start of the yes movement we would get out of this. So go ahead, John. You want to talk about that steel cage? The floor is yours.
I mean, I remember just sitting on the couch, just watching that match, and it's like you knew, like something felt different about that match. You knew something was going to happen, and when it finally did, and he finally turned on Bray, it was perfect because Harper and Rowan couldn't do crap about it. And every time they tried to climb up there, they couldn't get up, and it was perfect. And when he hit that running knee in the corner, I think he hit him 3 times, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
It was utter bliss. I mean, amazing. And I mean, I will always be a Daniel Bryan fan, but that made me so proud of how they booked that match because I mean, you knew it was coming, but the way they delivered it was not how you expected it to happen.
Right.
I totally agree. They booked that match to the tippy top, and I feel like it showed that Bryan was getting the S movement was strong. That we knew what was coming down the road for Daniel Bryan, and what better way to get him ready for something that big is to put in Bray Wyatt. And I feel like Bray knew how to bring the best out of people. And no offense to Daniel,
Yes.
No offense to Brian Danielson. He was good, but he needed somebody to kick him in the ass, and Wyndham did that. And I think that's why he became world heavyweight champion at Mania.
Right. And when you talk about that steel cage and the Daniel finally turning on Bray and taking him out, the lasting image you have from that Monday Night Raw is so iconic, with Brian being on the top of the cage doing the yes, 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 with the crowd in unison doing it behind him. Just something that I feel like you might not see it really in the intro for WWE programming, but it's still something that people talk about even to this day, and is a moment that will never be forgotten.
Probably one of the best moments in Daniel Bryan's career, and you don't get that moment without the likes of Bray.
Exactly. All right. From there we go on. Bray Wyatt would beat Daniel Bryan in a singles match in their rivalry at the Royal Rumble. Harper and Rowan would both get part of the Rumble match. And then on the January 27th episode of Raw, Wyatt family would attack Cena, Bryan, and Sheamus during an Elimination Chamber qualifying match against the Shield, thus giving Cena's team the win by DQ, which would lead to yet another huge rivalry, as that led to the Wyatt family versus the Shield. Not John Cena's rivalry yet. We got the Shield first. We'll get into Cena's. But I remember when you first seen the Wyatt family and the Shield come face to face and start the promos that they did on Monday Night Raws, but just to see those two factions in the ring and the way the crowd reacted to seeing those two factions coming head to head, face to face, was incredible. The matches they would eventually have were amazing. What do you guys remember and take from seeing the Wyatt family and the Shield? It was really the first full-on rivalry, if you will, for the entire Wyatt family together.
Mm.
A 3-on-3.
You know what? I feel like it was the right time. You got one dominant faction in the Shield who just turned, if I'm correct, face.
Pretty much, we're just turning face at that point.
They just turned face. And what better way to get the Shield ready for their eventual match with another group that was going to reform again in
eventually, yeah.
Evolution. What better way, again, Mr. Brody Lee, Bray Wyatt, and Eric Rowan, 3 men that could get you ready and give you a physical battle. What better way to put them? And the crowd was hot for it. And I thought it was a magical night to see two teams, two fractions on a collision course, not for a long term, for a short term, and I got to say they did an excellent job on that.
I agree.
I mean, and that rivalry in itself showed the cracks that really were in the Shield. Like before, you never saw cracks in the Shield as they came in. They were completely locked in and all that. But once you got into the fight with the Wyatt family, and yes, we're talking Bray Wyatt, the king of mind games, all that. But it showed the cracks, and I think that alone made the Shield look even better because it gave more of a story on that perspective than just 3 guys that kick ass. And once again, it led to interesting, down in the future, interesting breakup and all going their own way. But the build that all those got on their own all came, and we all got in touch with is from how they acted in that rivalry. The way the Wyatt family, the the mind games and all that put against the Shield that caused those little rifts, there wouldn't be the runs they had without people attaching to that rivalry itself.
Exactly. Yes, I agree with that. The Wyatt family would go on to beat the Shield at Elimination Chamber after Dean Ambrose had disappeared into the crowd at a point during the match. On the March 3rd episode of Raw, the Shield got a rematch against the Wyatt family, but lost again when the Shield's poor teamwork led to Rollins leaving the ring during the match. On the April 8th episode, get this, of Main Event of all shows, which back then I do believe was kind of a bigger deal because it had just shown up, I believe had just debuted on Ion at that time. So they were kind of pushing Main Event as potentially like a third big show for them. The Wyatt family would defeat the Shield yet again in another 6-man tag match to end that rivalry. But also during that rivalry, there was another man that you mentioned that the Wyatt family would enter a rivalry with that came after the Shield fully, but they also were attacking this guy throughout the rivalry with the Shield. That, of course, being the man you can't see, John Cena. You can't talk Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family without bringing up John Cena, because that year's WrestleMania, of course, after the Wyatt family had cost Cena his WWE World Heavyweight Championship, matches against Orton, in the Elimination Chamber, while John Cena would go on to face the Eater of Worlds himself, Bray Wyatt, at WrestleMania 30. Now, I feel like that was kind of the beginning of the feud, and the rivalry got even better past WrestleMania. But leading into WrestleMania, how did you guys feel watching things begin to take form for this Wyatt and Cena rivalry?
I mean, well, it was
Go ahead.
inevitable.
Sorry.
I mean, from the beginning, once the Wyatt debuted, they were going for the heroes. And the biggest hero in the
Right.
company, I don't care what genre you looking at. You go through all the history of WWE. The biggest hero of the company will always be the bowl of fruity pebbles himself, John Cena. Oh, we can all see it. First, come out your bright blue shirt and your bright purple shirt, looking like a big bowl of fruity pebbles. I mean, so you knew that collision was inevitable. And when it finally hit, it was the right time. They had the slow build on it, and when it finally hit that mountaintop, it was perfect.
Yes.
You have put it again in a way that I was going to put it. This put Mr. Brody Lee and Eric Rowan aside. This was for the entire family of the Rotundos. This was a defining moment that, from Mike Rotundo to Taylor to Bray himself, this was a defining moment that they were going after a main guy.
Right.
Because if you look at Taylor's career, he never got up to that big statue of going after the world title. His father,
Right.
IRS, or the captain, whatever the hell they called him in WCW, he was mostly with the Varsity Blonde, the Varsity Club, with him and Kevin Sullivan, or BK Wall Street, or whatever name he had. He was always in the tag team. He never had this thing until Bray. His creative mind got him to John Cena. Yes, he lost at WrestleMania to him, but we knew that story down the road was not done. It was the foot point to a storyline that ended up as a masterpiece. That's what Bray did.
That'd be great.
He turned shit into a masterpiece.
You could say that. That was Bray Wyatt's first ever loss as well on the main roster when he lost to Cena at WrestleMania 30. I'm sure we've discussed this before. I'll say it again. Looking back at it back then, I personally thought that Bray Wyatt should have won. But looking at how things would come later on, I feel like this actually was the right call to have Bray Wyatt lose to John Cena at WrestleMania 30. Which we'll get into more later, obviously, but so after WrestleMania, the rivalry continued. Wyatt was capturing Cena's fan base, which was exemplified by Bray Wyatt leading a children's choir to the ring on the April 28th episode of Raw, with the children later putting on sheep masks. And of course, we remember during this rivalry, and might be skipping ahead a little bit, but the steel cage match that Wyatt and Cena had, that kid comes out, and what's he singing?
He's got the
The
whole
whole
world
world
in
in
his
his hands.
hand.
He's
He
got the
got the
whole
whole wide world in his hand.
hand.
Oh my God,
Yes,
Hey,
that
wasn't that
was
kid
one
wearing a
of the
Cena
best.
shirt too?
yes, the sheep mask. That chant really kind of took off at WrestleMania, but it just kept going and going for the Wyatt family afterwards. And like I said, just that kid coming out and stinging it and Cena's face with the cage door open, and the way they torted his voice with the microphone, however they did it, sounded so demonic as a kid was singing it. But it's just something etched in your mind, etched in your brain for eternity. I feel like something, again, another moment that will be remembered forever in the lore of Monday Night Raw and the Wyatt family.
Yeah, you actually said it point blank. That is a moment in the Wyatt family history that will always live on, because that was demonic, but also very fun to watch.
It was at Extreme Rules, sorry, not Raw, but still.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, like I said, it was fun to watch, and the way they had the lights dimmed, and the kid was singing in demonic. Then it was like John Cena saw a ghost, and it skyrocket the Wyatt family to another part of WWE history. And I feel like it was well received, and still to this day, we don't know. We'll figure out how that's going to work now, but the new entity of it, it'd be nice to see.
Yeah, that's for sure. John, anything you want to add to that before I mention the ending of that rivalry and what happened next?
I think we're good to move on because I mean you can't see it coming.
Right? Like I said, that of course was a steel cage match at Extreme Rules, which Cena would lose. But the next time they'd face each other would be June 1st at WWE Payback in a last man standing match. And we all know John Cena's record in last man standing matches. He has not lost very many of those. He didn't lose that one to Bray Wyatt either. From there, you got June 2nd episode of Raw. Harper and Rowan competed against the Usos in a tag team match. Wyatt did not appear during the match, but his rocking chair was brought out and was sitting there during it, which Harper and Rowan won, became tag number one contenders for the tag titles. And Bray Wyatt would go on to beat Dean Ambrose with help from Seth Rollins to qualify for his first Money in the Bank ladder match, which actually that Money in the Bank ladder match was for the vacant WWE World Heavyweight Championship. All three men failed to win their respective matches at that Money in the Bank, as the Wyatt family would lose. Harper and Rowan would lose the tag team title match. Bray wouldn't win the ladder match. They'd lose at Battleground to the Usos. Harper and Rowan did. Then the Wyatt family would target another big name superstar in Y2J, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho had been in and out of WWE at that point in time, but the Wyatt family would go after Jericho, try to make an example out of him. Wyatt would get a match with Jericho at Battleground, which Wyatt would lose. Wyatt would go on, though, to defeat Chris Jericho at SummerSlam, despite Harper and Rowan were banned from ringside. And then Jericho would face Bray Wyatt in yet another steel cage match on Monday Night Raw, September 8th. And Bray Wyatt would actually win the steel cage match. Kind of a lackluster feud I felt like he had with Jericho after what had transpired with Daniel Bryan, The Shield, and John Cena, but that's where we went from there. After that, Bray Wyatt would actually set Harper and Rowan free from the Wyatt family. As they kind of all went their own ways. Wyatt would return at Hell in a Cell on October 26th, attacking Dean Ambrose. Rowan would return on October 31st episode of SmackDown, and Harper returned on November 10th, Raw, aligning with the Authority. As Harper kind of stayed heel, but Rowan kind of had his little face turn at that point in time, of course. Kind of a failed face turn, in my opinion, but something different we got to see out of those three guys in that point in time. It's interesting to see Harper join up with the Authority.
I always felt that my dream match with Bray Wyatt, and it was around the time that Luke Harper was heat face and Eric Rowan was a heel. What would you guys think if we saw Bray Wyatt go up against Sting?
Ooh, that would have been interesting.
He was in the company because he debuted at the Survivor Series in that match. In that match
Right.
with Cena with Dolph won. You know,
right.
what would have happened if we would have had Sting and Bray Wyatt go one-on-one? That would have been yeah, I know Sting was a little old, but man, that you got the Crow versus the Eater of Worlds. I mean, come on, that would have been a great match.
Yeah. It would have been. You're right. But instead, we got what we did. Harper and Rowan would eventually join back up together not too long after their separation. But before the Wyatt family could get back together, Rowan got injured in like June of 2014, out of action for 4 to 6 months. June 23rd episode, Harper would return to singles action before we'd get the resurgence in 2015 of the Wyatt family, a new version of the Wyatt family, actually. As we would have Harper would interfere during Bray Wyatt's match against Roman Reigns, helping him defeat Reigns and signaling the return of the stable. Wyatt would state in a post-Battleground interview, "To the world, say your prayers, lock your doors, the family has returned." Which led to a tag team match between Wyatt and Harper against Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam, which the Wyatt family lost. But the following night on Raw, there was a rematch, and Harper and Wyatt would have a new family member debut. Who would that family member be, my friends?
The monster among men, Braun Strowman.
That one big
Son of a bitch.
SOB.
Yes. Braun Strowman in a black sheep mask. Gotta mention black because Rowan always wore the white sheep mask. The black sheep of the family debut. I remember watching that episode of Monday Night Raw, and you see him just come out of just onto the screen, pretty much up onto the ring apron to cause a distraction. Just seeing how big of a guy Braun Strowman was, and knowing he was joining the Wyatt family, this group was going to be on another level. That's for sure.
Oh my God! When he debuted, I remember that I was watching it myself. I'm like, who the hell is this squad? Who the hell is this man? He had them brown ass pants on, and his hair looked like he didn't wash it for like 7 days. I mean, good Lord, he was a beast. I mean, when he came in the ring, and he was ready to die, like I was like, holy shit, he could eat somebody.
Right? Pretty much could. That would lead, they would have their first match as a trio, if you will, against Reigns and Ambrose and a partner of their choosing, which turned out to be Chris Jericho, at Night of Champions, which the Wyatt family would win, which was good. But then not too long after that, in October 19th, Eric Rowan would make his return to the ring when he filled in for Harper, who was unable to show for personal reasons, against Reigns, Ambrose, and Rollins. His team won after Rollins faked an injury and walked out on the match. Wyatt's feud with Reigns culminated in a Hell in a Cell match between Wyatt and Roman Reigns. We'll get more into the Reigns and Wyatt rivalry later, because I felt like this was kind of just the beginning story, really, between those two men. And it was kind of a continuation of the Shield versus the Wyatts, but yet it was just Ambrose and Reigns versus the Wyatts. But after Wyatt would lose that Hell in a Cell match to Reigns, that same night, the Wyatt family would attack a certain phenom, The Undertaker, and would carry him to the back to set up another huge rivalry for Bray Wyatt, as we'd get not just The Undertaker involved in this rivalry, but we'd see the return of the Brothers of Destruction, as Kane would come to the aid of the Phenom. What do you guys remember most about the rivalry between the Wyatt family and the Brothers of Destruction that we got leading into what eventually we'd see at WrestleMania that year? Of course, Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker.
Okay, so what I remember of that, because I remember that was a handicap match, because it was also the 25th anniversary of The Undertaker debuting at the Survivor Series. And I remember that, and I thought it was one-sided, because you're not going to celebrate The Undertaker's career and have him lose on the anniversary of his debut and all that. But we will get a one-on-one between Bray and the Taker, and to see, and I know people always not say this is wrong, but to see two phenoms, because I always felt when The Undertaker called his career, I always felt like Bray was next in line to be the top guy like the Taker was. And unfortunately, when you get that...
Yeah, skipped a little head there.
Yeah. But you know what?
Taker and Wyatt's rivalry to the year anyway.
But you know what? I feel like it was great. It was a great. It was a one-sided match, but it was something I always wanted to see. Undertaker, Bray Wyatt. It was good. I enjoyed it, but it was one-sided to me.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't trying to interrupt, but yeah, as I mentioned, in that match between Taker and Wyatt would be a year plus later because there's something else that upcoming WrestleMania for Bray Wyatt, but still, we know it led to it eventually. I agree with what you said there. It was kind of one-sided, but you knew Taker wasn't going to lose at the 25th anniversary of his debut. It was great to see Taker and Kane back together again, in my opinion, but it was at the expense of the Wyatt family and now their momentum at that point in time. It didn't kill it, though. I'll say that much. It didn't kill their momentum, as things could have as they went past there. Because they would go on to defeat Team ECW in an 8-man tag team elimination tables match at TLC. They'd be part of the Royal Rumble match. They would one of the biggest names that the Wyatt family would eliminate in the 2016 Royal Rumble match, the Beast incarnate himself, Brock Lesnar. Now, from there, Bray Wyatt was supposed to face Lesnar at Roadblock on March 12th, but Bray revealed that he'd be facing Lesnar alongside Harper in a 2-on-1 handicap match, which they lost, with Wyatt never returning to the ring. Wyatt was likely replaced in the match due to a serious back injury that he was legitimately suffering from. On March 21st, Harper suffered a knee injury during a dark match. He is going to be out 5 to 6 months. He had dislocated his patella and tore his medial ligament. The Wyatt family, well, 3/4 of the Wyatt family would make an appearance at WrestleMania 32. As The Rock would be in the ring talking smack, as The Rock does when the Wyatt family would come to the ring. This being, of course, Bray Wyatt, Eric Rowan, and Braun Strowman. Now, who could forget what we got out of that whole interaction, though, at WrestleMania 32? Of course, the 5-second, 8-second match, something like that. The Rock's last match at that point in time until this year. The quick victory The Rock got over Eric Rowan. But just to see and listen to The Rock and Bray Wyatt have a little bit of a promo battle back and forth was something very interesting that we got at WrestleMania 32. Even without mentioning Rock versus Rowan and then Cena, of course, coming into Rock's side.
I mean, that's another thing I would have wanted to see. What I wanted to see was Rock versus Bray. That would have been all.
Right? All right. And then Wyatt family actually kind of would turn face after that as they would start a brief rivalry with the League of Nations, being Alberto Del Rio, Sheamus, Wade Barrett, and Rusev. Rusev. All right. Which would lead to a tag team match. I'm sure you guys remember the ending of, at least, as Bray Wyatt would team with Roman Reigns to face Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio. See if you guys can recall what happened at the end of that match, though.
I don't know. I fell asleep because the League of Nations were wrestling.
So it was a moment I remember watching it after Bray passed away on WWE Network. Bray Wyatt would hit Sister Abigail, I believe, on Sheamus. And as he had him covered and Alberto Del Rio came in, Wyatt points at Reigns as Roman comes through your screen pretty much with a spear out of nowhere as Wyatt picks up the win for him and Roman Reigns. And another moment that you can't be, or sorry, Alberto Del Rio was Sheamus' partner, but still. That's the most memorable thing of that whole match, personally. All right. Wyatt would suffer an injury to his right calf and was pulled from the European Tour when he had a match against Reigns on April 13th. The injury resulted in the abrupt suspension of the feud and the breakup of the League of Nations. And then on the June 20th episode of Raw, the Wyatt family returned for the first time since April. Were confronted by then tag team champions, The New Day. Thus starting a rivalry between those two. On the July 11th episode of Raw, The New Day went to the Wyatt family's compound where the two factions brawled. This would be pretty much the first time we've seen any interaction at the Wyatt family compound. I recall this rivalry, Xavier Woods was petrified. He was scared to death of the Wyatt family, Bray Wyatt, and anything to do really with the Wyatt family. And just to see Woods have to try and conquer his fear and go into that Wyatt family compound, something not easily forgettable, in my opinion. Really good rivalry, I thought, that the Wyatt family had with the New Day. As John's deciding to jump down. So what do you guys, anything you guys got to say about the Wyatt family and New Day rivalry before I move on?
The one I liked when the New Day cosplayed the Wyatt family. That one, I don't know if it's they had a little answer that we're here. Damn, so much smoke.
I remember that too. That was good.
I mean, yeah, I remember Xavier was like, oh shit, we're here. I mean, we don't want to be here, but we're here. You know, like, yeah, it was really something amazing.
John?
I just remember Xavier Woods being a scared little bitch every time Bray Wyatt came near him.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was definitely interesting to see Woods in that. You didn't see Woods like that before then, ever. And it was something different to see, that's for sure. We'd get a non-title 6-man tag team match at Battleground, which the Wyatt family would win as well, so that was good. So then we get to July 19th, 2016, of course, the return of the WWE draft at that point in time. In that draft, Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan would be drafted to SmackDown, while Braun Strowman was drafted to Raw, separating him from the group, ending Strowman's time with the Wyatt family. On the August 16th episode of SmackDown Live, Wyatt walked away from Rowan after Rowan had lost the match against Ambrose, leaving Rowan's sheep mask on Wyatt's rocking chair. Rowan would attack Randy Orton on behalf of Bray on the September 13th episode of SmackDown to continue the alliance. Through all that, Harper would return to SmackDown at the end of the No Mercy pay-per-view on October 9th in a match between Wyatt and Orton. You guys know where this is leading to, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Harper distracted Orton to help Wyatt win the match, thus realigning himself with Wyatt. Rowan was then out of action because he had suffered a torn rotator cuff that he had to have surgery on and was going to be out for 4 to 6 months. So this left us with Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper as the new Wyatt family. But something peculiar happened on the October 25th episode of Friday Night SmackDown. We had Bray Wyatt going up against the Big Red Machine, Kane. But to help Bray Wyatt wasn't Luke Harper. Instead, it was the Viper, Randy Orton, helping Bray Wyatt pick up the win. Something that was very much so unexpected. And then a week later, Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper would help Orton win his match against Kane. Thus, we get our new version of the Wyatt family. Now, there's a lot to discuss as we talk about Randy Orton joining the Wyatt family. What do you guys remember most leading into Randy Orton joining the Wyatt family and everything that happened leading up to that point?
I mean, they needed to do something because the two to get just the two was not really something different. They needed to do something different to keep everyone's eyes on the Wyatt family. And what's better than setting up an apex predator, a viper, a future Hall of Famer to be this, I don't want to say centerpiece, but this new shiny toy to the Wyatt family to use at their disposal.
Right.
It was smart booking and the perfect way to go.
Yeah, I totally agree with John. I felt like, when Roman went down, I feel like, Luke Harper and Bray were okay, but you needed that spark. And what a better way to do is with the Viper. I mean,
Right.
it was a smart decision.
I agree. From there, we go into the 30th annual Survivor Series, where Wyatt and Orton, of course, were not only part of Team SmackDown in the traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match, but they were the sole survivors for Team SmackDown, winning the traditional Survivor Series match. Pretty much, they took out most of Team Raw, if I remember correctly, towards that. To win it, Orton, of course, saved Wyatt from a spear from Roman Reigns during the match, which led to Orton and Wyatt winning. And then on November 29th, edition of Friday Night SmackDown, Wyatt and Orton would do something else that, actually, I don't believe had really seen Randy Orton ever do before then. He'd team up with somebody and win a match. Oh. But no, him and Wyatt and Orton beat American Alpha to win the number one contendership for the tag team titles. They would go on to challenge the then champions at TLC for the tag team titles. That, of course, being Heath Slater and Rhino, the inaugural SmackDown tag team champions at that point in time. But Rhino and Heath Slater, well, they might have had kids to feed. However, on this night at TLC, they were a little outgunned, so as to speak. Of course, the Wyatt family, or the new Wyatt family, if you will, Wyatt and Orton did walk out with the SmackDown tag team titles, which was Bray Wyatt's first taste of gold on the main roster, and I believe the first tag team gold for Randy Orton. Oh, sorry, no, it wasn't the first, because he'd been tag team champion with Edge before then. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Rated
First in a long
RKO.
time champion. Yeah.
What were you fucking thinking there, laddie?
I corrected myself. First in a long time, anyways, that he'd been tag team champion, but still. What do you guys remember most as we get into that? I mean, I know there's a lot more we're going to go over with Orton being part of the faction for the next couple months. Leading into the match with Slater and Rhino, were you guys expecting Orton and Wyatt to walk out the other side as champions, or did you guys think there was going to be some shenanigans going on there?
I thought there was going to be shenanigans, but at the same time, no matter how the shenanigans fell, I figured it was still going to be Bray and Orton as champs.
Yeah.
I already know they were going to be tag team champions because, I mean, come on. You got the last ECW world champion from the original, and you got a guy that has to feed his kids. I mean, it was it was not a brain science. I mean, I already know that.
Kids. You've got kids.
I understand that, but yeah, I didn't see. I didn't see anything going. They got put together because Slater couldn't get drafted to a brand.
True. He was the only one that wasn't drafted. All right. From there, of course, the Wyatt family would use the Freebird rule, so any two of the three could defend the tag team titles. And then you get, of course, the Royal Rumble match. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton both were in there, and they both made it to the final three. Johnny, you're shaking your head. Why are you shaking your head?
In my opinion, this was probably one of the worst Royal Rumbles. I'm sorry. I mean, I know all the builds around it and what it led to, but as a whole match, it was so predictable to the last T that you even knew exactly when everyone was getting eliminated. Can you name another Rumble that's ever been that predictable?
Probably not.
It's just insane with you the build to Mania. The Rumble is everything, and then it's like you knew either Bray was walking out or Randy Orton was walking out. One of them was winning that Rumble. We all knew that,
Right.
and of course they're not going to have them turn on each other in the Rumble because that didn't make too much sense. You knew there was going to be another person, and by WWE, who was the most? I get he's a face, but who's the most hated person? Who did we always
Roman.
boo the crap out of?
Roman.
Whose empire do we want falling down and never rebuilt?
Roman.
So I mean, you knew those are going to be the three because Roman was going to have to eliminate one, and then the other one has to get a revenge and take out Roman. We knew that was going to happen. Terrible, Bill. I'm happy with who won. I'm happy with what led to, but terrible.
We'll get into. I personally, I kind of feel like the wrong person won there, but we'll get into
I
that
should
more
have
later.
flipped.
Yeah. I thought Bray should have technically won it, but still, what we get out of it, can't complain too much. But still, as you mentioned, Bray Wyatt would get eliminated by Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns would be eliminated by Randy Orton. Randy Orton wins the Royal Rumble match for the Wyatt family. We go from there. And on the January 24th episode of SmackDown, Orton would get a victory over fellow Wyatt family member Luke Harper, after which Wyatt would attack Harper with the sister Abigail. Did not necessarily say he was kicked out of the group. Sorry, that was just before the Royal Rumble. But still, we get to the Rumble. And then at Elimination Chamber, Orton would defeat Harper in a match, whereas Bray Wyatt, as we know, would go on and win the first time in his career the WWE Championship in the Elimination Chamber, last pinning the phenomenal AJ Styles. No fireworks for you at the moment.
Yeah. I'm keeping all the money for next month.
Oh, okay. But yes, that was definitely a much deserved moment. Eddie's jumping. Please again. That was definitely a much deserved for Bray, but I still kind of feel like Bray should have won the Rumble. Orton should have won the title there, and then the opposite should have happened at WrestleMania than what did happen. But we'll get into that in a moment. So Bray Wyatt wins the WWE Championship in the Chamber. In the following episode of SmackDown, Wyatt would defeat Cena and AJ in a triple threat match to retain it, even after Harper had attacked him beforehand. Orton claimed he wouldn't face Wyatt at WrestleMania. Wyatt would go on to give Orton the keys to the kingdom, which referred to the Wyatt family's compound. But Orton turned on Wyatt, of course, when he showed up in front of the Wyatt family compound. And what did Randy Orton do to the compound on that night?
Lit that bitch on fire and watched it motherfucking burn.
We don't need no more to let the motherfucker
Motherfucker burn. Burn, motherfucker. Burn.
Yes, he set that place ablaze and watched it burn in front of everybody's eyes.
This house
To
is on
which,
fire.
it's truly, then he would challenge Bray Wyatt to a match at WrestleMania 33. In the process, also ending that version of the Wyatt family, of course. But then on the April 4th episode of SmackDown, Eric Rowan would return from injury, sporting a new steampunk-style sheet mask, assisting Bray Wyatt in attacking Randy Orton. But later that night, Orton and Wyatt would lose a tag team match against Rowan and Wyatt would lose a tag team match to Orton and Harper. The Wyatts would then seemingly disband again when Wyatt was moved to the Raw brand during the 2017 Superstar Shakeup. Wyatt and Rowan would continue their alliance, with Wyatt distracting Orton during his match with Rowan on the April 11th episode of SmackDown, April 25th SmackDown, all that fun stuff. But that leads us to, it didn't even mention it there, but we'll get into that. WrestleMania, of course, that year was Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. We'd get some weird shit involved in this match. You see worms or maggots, whichever, on the ring mat. It looked like, obviously just projection, but still. I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but to me, this match that Orton and Wyatt had was better than the future WrestleMania match that these two men would have against each other, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I feel like this one, other than the special effects that they did on the match, the match was good. I enjoyed it. The future one, yeah, we'll get to that one. But yeah, this one was a better one. Sorry about that, Johnny.
you're good. I enjoyed the match. I still, part of me wishes it was a triple threat between Harper, Orton, and Wyatt. Really,
Yeah.
I mean, I get why Harper wasn't there because no offense to Luke Harper. The Luke Harper character really wasn't that main event thing as to where when he
Right.
went to AEW, Brody King was.
Brody Lee.
But my bad, Brody Lee, my bad. But I feel like it would have been a better story in the end if it ended up being a triple threat. But the match they had was amazing and probably one of the better Orton Wyatt matches that we ever saw. And I still think Wyatt should have been champion longer than his 1 month reign.
I agree. Like I said, I felt like Bray Wyatt's first title win should have been there at WrestleMania. Wyatt should have won the Rumble, should have won the title at Mania, and then held it for a while after that. Instead of Orton winning it at WrestleMania and then a couple months later dropping it to the modern day Maharaja. But that's another story for another time.
Yeah, we're not talking no Punjabi prison rules here.
Right. We'd see the Wyatt family kind of have their issues and feud with each other off and on from there. Rowan and Harper would go on to become the Bludgeon Brothers, of course, and tag team gold at the next year's WrestleMania. Bray, as I said, would have his match with Undertaker at Mania as well, which was a pretty good match. But from that, we'd go on. I'm not going to go over each guy's individual stuff because it's mainly about Bray Wyatt here. As we'd see, Bray Wyatt would then, of course, the next big thing you'd see from him would be the transformation from the Eater of Worlds to the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Now, of course, the Fiend is somebody that we could probably do a whole nother show on in and of itself if we wanted to. But the Fiend would have huge rivalries. He would have feuds with Daniel Bryan, with Braun Strowman, with Randy Orton, uh, Roman Reigns for that matter as well, kind of, sort of. Goldberg. The list goes on and on. Seth freaking Rollins.
Finn Balor.
Yes. Yes, Finn Balor was the first target of the Fiend. So he would also get that mandible claw on Mick Foley and Jerry the King Lawler at different points on Monday Night. So the Fiend was somebody not to be messed with. Of course, we know his alignment with Alexa Bliss as well at one point in time. Anything you guys want to go over from the Fiend part before we move on towards the end of said Wyatt career, if you will?
Well, I thought the Fiend character really brought out more of a more vicious side of Bray Wyatt. I mean,
Yes.
You had with Bray, you had like multiple characters. You had the
Yes.
Fiend. You had the Mr. Rogers version of.
We're really glad that you're our friend.
Yeah.
This is a friendship that will never ever end.
Yeah, you had that one.
Yowie, wowie.
And then you had my favorite, and this was during the pandemic, the Saturday Night Main Event, Bray.
Right?
And the match that he did with Cena at Mania in the Performance Center, him trying to be Eric Bischoff, which was funny as fucking hell.
Right.
I mean, he showed another side of him that I liked, and him working with Alexa Bliss, who at the time was starting to fade out. And then he turned her into this. He turned her into this hot mess. You know, the way she had her hair and.
Careful, Chelsea might get you.
Yeah, I know. You know, she turned into this like weird thing, and with her tongue coming out like long. And the best part of that Fiend character is we got the twisted version of Pee Wee's Playhouse.
It's true, the Firefly Funhouse.
And that's another one in his characters, his puppets. You know, Abby the Witch, Rattling Rabbit. What is the name of the goddamn pig name? Hans, the pig.
Huskus, the pig boy.
Yeah, and then you had Waylon Mercy
the Buzzard.
Out of making fun of, proclaiming that he was like Waylon Mercy. I mean, that was a cool thing.
He was one of his idols.
Yeah, and then my one was like the Vince McMahon puppet. Oh, I like this shit. You know.
Yeah, old Postman Pierce as well.
Oh God, yeah.
It's a puppet, but still.
I gotta say, I think this version of Bray as a Fiend, basically he showed his more creative side, and I loved it. It was the best time to see him transformation into the Eater Worlds to this demonic beast.
Right. Johnny?
So, my favorite thing, when he had the fire match with Orton, and you saw how badly burnt the Fiend and the outfit was and all that. And to have that WrestleMania when he entered, have him walk out, it starts out as the whole all burnt up, and as he's walking, it's all peeling away and he's being reborn again. One still to this day, one of the most underrated entrances in Mania history by far. But there was so much depth into it, and it's like if you weren't following the Bray Wyatt story, the Fiend, you wouldn't fully be in depth what was going on. And it was the rebirth. It was he's back. It was like eye catching And then that little freaking bitch Bliss had to ruin it. So fuck her.
And
Yes,
even her character was nice when she started bleeding that purple shit out, that black stuff out of her face.
right,
I mean, the match wasn't okay, but the entrance was fucking amazing.
right. I wish, personally, still, I know you can't go back in time, but I still wish we could have seen so much more from the Fiend after that. And I mean, obviously, we wish that we could have seen the Fiend win that match, but just to
The
know
thing that
that was the end of the Fiend character is it's a travesty, really.
the thing that pissed me off the most about that was not the fact that he lost the match, was the fact that there were so many rumors speculating that it wasn't Bray in the Mania match, that it was Bo, because he wasn't doing stuff like Bray would do. Even the so-called entrance walk was not the same; it was different. But I mean, could now going to where we are in life, could that be kind of the start of, oh, maybe Bo could be something in this company? So what if it was Bo and a whole rebirth thing? What if it was the start of this whole Uncle Howdy thing? What if that was all starting from that entrance right there with the rebirth of the brotherhood, the rebirth of the brothership? What if that was all leading to where we are now? If we don't get the full immense, because unfortunately we lost probably not if the, but one of the greatest minds, talents, and just overall people in not only the business but the world.
Right.
I'm gonna go top off on that with you. Go back to Monday night after the Wyatt Sick debuted. His father posted something that long ass thing. I technically agree with you. We were going to see Bray as he was testing Taylor to see if he could be the Fiend, and then all of a sudden we get that like they were going to do something big after WrestleMania, that another transformation comes, that Bray goes into this like modern myth, this weird thing, and you see Uncle Howdy breaking apart from inside of Bray. That it's almost like a horror movie, that when a predator, like, okay, like when they had Nightmare on Elm Street, because Bray was a big fan of Freddy Krueger, of Robin England.
Right.
When it was the second one, Freddy came out of that guy's chest, and then the only thing you see Freddy coming out and the guy's skin drop. I think Bray had that vision that he goes away for a while and Uncle Howdy takes, and then all of a sudden you see it all together, lights go out, and you see Bray and Howdy together at that time. It just, we
Maybe.
never got that. We never got that, and it's sad we didn't, but at least we had some good memories with Bray.
Yes. I mean, we'd get from the Fiend, as you mentioned, during the pandemic era, we got the Firefly Funhouse match with Cena. We got another Wyatt family compound match between him and Braun Strowman, which was okay. He had some interesting rivalries during that pandemic era, but unfortunately, also coming out of that pandemic era, when we talk about that match he had with Orton at WrestleMania, that would be the end of Bray's time with WWE at that point in time. That was the last we'd see of him for a little over a year before Triple H took over, brought back Bray Wyatt. And once Bray had come back, I mean, I can't go without mentioning this, as Bray was going through things then, because, of course, Mr. Brody Lee, Luke Harper, had passed away December of 2020. December 26th, which Bray had all kinds of issues in his life going on, and he would eventually get brought back, though, to WWE. We would see not just Bray Wyatt, though, as you brought up. We would get the brothers together for the first time really on screen, as we got Bray Wyatt and the debut of Uncle Howdy. Now, again, unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot with this unveiling, if you will, of Uncle Howdy, but the time that we got of seeing Bo and Bray on screen together and seeing some of the stuff you've seen backstage, you could tell this was probably one of the best parts of Bray's career in WWE, and one of his most proud moments working together with his brother.
Yeah, I mean, hands down, when he came back, there was a difference with him. I mean, he actually did. Who knows what his character was going to be when he first came back? He was just basically Wyndham. He was just basically Wyndham.
Right.
And then closer to the story, Howdy came in, trying to get him back to his normal self. And then we had that match at the Rumble. It was okay, but after that we lost him. And
yeah, lights out, the pitch black match.
Yep, and we all drink the Mountain Dew to prove it.
Right.
Who knows what we would have got if he was still around.
So
right.
I said
I do want to
earlier
mention.
that. So I said earlier that Bray Wyatt was amazing for helping people, putting people over in ways. And if we go back to when he was still alive, there was a certain future megastar that he had that wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful pitch black match with. And it's funny
yeah.
because you knew there was the potential for L.A. Knight
yeah,
Yeah.
to be a big star. And not many people were seeing it. But who saw it? Bray. And
Right.
even after, because it was after Bray had passed, and it was the tribute episode they did. And LA Knight will always go down as the last person to have a match with Bray. That's
Yes.
inevitable. But not only is that inevitable, that put him closer with the people and help him rise as that big megastar. Because it was like seeing one last part of Bray, because that was the last opponent for Bray. So seeing him rise was almost like seeing a piece of Bray Wyatt still in the business. It was like the last glimpse we had, of course, till now, but it was at that time, it was what the WWE fan base needed, and the Bray Wyatt fan and family and all that needed as well.
Of course, mention Bray Wyatt's return, his final run in WWE. You can't go without mentioning the White Rabbit and, of course, the QR codes that popped up on the screen every week on Raw and SmackDown, leading to Extreme Rules 2022, when after Riddle won the main event match, can't think of what the name of the match was called right now, but him and Daniel Cormier had left. They were leaving. You get the lights go out. You'd see a door eventually appear, but before that, you would see the different human versions, if you will, of the characters from the Firefly Funhouse. You would see a rambling rabbit. You would see Mercy the Buster. You seen Abby the Witch. You seen even the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, except for it was Jason Solomon who does all the masks and stuff for him. That was dressed up as a Fiend, as we find out later. Then you'd see the door. You'd get the eerie music, which I'll play at the end as we finish here in a little bit. You'd get the music, the crowd, just a reaction from the crowd, even before Bray Wyatt even walked through that door. You knew what was going to happen. But as soon as the door opens, you see the light, the Luke Harper light, really, if you will, leading the way. And then you see Bray Wyatt walk through with that brand new mask on at that time. And the crowd just went apeshit pretty much for Bray Wyatt there. The holy shit chants throughout the entire arena. One of the loudest crowd reactions I feel like we've gotten. There's one that matches it. They're close to it since then, but still, we're not going to talk about that one tonight. But just the reaction, and Bray comes out there. I'm back. I'm here. Blows out the candle, blows out the lantern. The show ends. And then not just that, but the emotions we got from Wyndham, if really, like you mentioned, Eddie, in the promos that he cut on SmackDown the couple weeks afterwards. Like you said, it was just a different side of Bray Wyatt or Wyndham that we got to see. It was more Wyndham than it was Bray. And I think that made it more special, the last run more special, to see that side of him and get to see where he was able to go with him and Taylor, and to lead into that rivalry, of course, with LA Knight, as John mentioned. The final match that we've seen at the Pitch Black match at the Royal Rumble. I mean, he had a couple matches with LA Knight on house shows after that, but incredible run. And the last thing we seen from Bray Wyatt on screen was him and Taylor, Uncle Howdy, working together to take out, who was it now? Was it Legato or I can't remember who it was.
Was it a Hit Row?
No, Hit Row, yes. To see them two get that moment to take out Hit Row together and be side by side, and that's the last thing really we ever seen of Bray Wyatt on screen. Almost was like a perfect ending, if you will, for the Bray Wyatt character.
Where did that final with him and Taylor? What city was that in?
Was that in the same one they're in Monday night? I think it was.
I don't know if it was the exact same, but I believe it was in Texas.
It may have been.
I don't know if it was Corpus Christi, but it was pretty close.
It might have been in Houston.
Yeah, right down the road.
But still in Texas. I'd have to look it up. I'm not going to worry about it. So. But yeah, I know technically we'd got one more appearance from Bray with the Firefly Funhouse when they were trying to lead to him and Lashley at WrestleMania, but that was the last time we seen him live and in person. So
Muscle Man dance.
Yes. That would have been an interesting match, Bray and Bobby, but unfortunately that wasn't in the cards. So all in all, though, I feel like the Wyatt family legacy definitely will go down as probably one of the greatest factions of all time. And Bray Wyatt, of course, as we mentioned, perhaps the greatest mind, if not one of the greatest minds in wrestling or in general in the history of life, really.
I gotta say, hands down, that next year at WrestleMania weekend, Bray Wyatt should be the headliner of the WWE Hall of Fame. I understand that his uncle and his dad, Barry Windham, and Mike Rotundo were inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. And what a great tribute that they did for him doing their acceptance speech. But Bray Wyatt needs to go into the Hall of Fame next year. And what better way to put him in is to put the Wyatt Six to introduce him into it with his uncle and his father and Alexa Bliss. That'd be a big group, but he changed a lot of people's lives. And now that we got this new version of the Wyatts, the stars, the Fireflies are aligning. And I feel like it's going to be good. And now that we're praising Bray, now we could talk about his sick, twisted new version of his group with him not there. But
before we get to the Wyatt Sick, I agree that he should be the headline. But as cool as it would be to have the Wyatt Sick induct him, and like our Alexa Bliss, his family, and all that, I feel like if it's not that, there's only one other option. And we finally got that option when Undertaker and Bray Wyatt had that moment near the end of Bray's life. And we all know what was said. We can say different things. We all know what was said. It's your time now. You're the guy.
Right.
I feel like if it's not like what you said with the Wyatt Sick and the family, it's got to be Undertaker.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you with that too. I mean, what I give up. What would have been if Wyatt was still around? It's his time. It would have blew up with him with the Wyatt Six. I feel like it would have blown up even more because he was going to be the top. He's taking over for a Hall of Famer. That would have been extra. That would have been extra for him to be like, I'm the new phenom.
Right. So before we close that, then you brought it up a couple times. I got to bring it up again. Bray Wyatt, amazing, incredible guy. Definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame next year. But we can't end this without discussing what happened Monday night on Raw. The end of Raw. The lights go out. We get that familiar music again from Shatter. And the door appears. But when it pops open, we see a mysterious woman crawling through as you see the lantern lit up on the ground. And we all know it's Nikki Cross. Comes crawling out to it. She never really puts her hands on the lantern, though. You notice that. She eventually just looks back and points to the back. We get the camera going to the back. You see in the back area a bunch of bodies laid out as we see the reveals of certain individuals as the Wyatt Sick, or Six, however you want to pronounce it. As we see a Mercy the Buzzard, as we see a Huskus the Pig Boy, as we see a Rambling Rabbit. Of course, Nikki is supposed to be the Abby the Witch version of the Firefly Funhouse, really, if you will. And then it pans to the next person, and you see the only person that you know for sure, certain, you can tell who it is, Chad Gable, laying up against a, whatever you want to call it, with it looked like a little bit of blood coming out of his head. And then you see Uncle Howdy. So Chad Gable's apparently the first target of the Wyatt Sick, or at least was on this night. And then we get, of course, all of them coming out to the arena. Uncle Howdy's the one that eventually picks up the lantern. And we get the "We're here." He blows out the lantern at the end of Monday Night Raw. Go ahead.
Also, when they were showing Rowan as Rambling Rabbit, when you headed the back to him, he had the same skull that Luke Harper had as the Bludgeon Brothers on the back.
And you have the Bludgeon
So
Brothers
now,
hammer too.
yep. So not only paying tribute to Wyatt, but also bringing in that other brother as well.
Yes. And as mentioned, Uncle Howdy's hat that he has the red circle on the top of it as well. Of course, that being involved with Bray and him in their run that they had briefly. And I thought it said hurt and heal on his gloves, but his one glove said Bray on it as well. I found it.
Yep.
So there's all kinds of little Easter eggs, I guess you could say, as the QR codes this time around led to the debut of the Wyatt Six. Kudos to John on his sleuthness that we got over the last couple months, as we knew who all was going to be a part of the Wyatt Six for the most part. Hey, there we go. The budget came through for one at least.
No.
It'll be interesting to see where the Wyatts go from here. As you guys have kind of brought up before we went on the air. Will it be Rowan, Nikki Cross, Joe Gacy? Will they go by those names? Will they go by other names? Dexter Loomis, you get as well. What will it be for those guys going forward in Garrel? And will we see a sixth member brought out eventually, or will that sixth member be just the spirit of Bray Wyatt?
Well, now that you say it like that, I've heard three different things, three different ways they could do this. One, they keep it the way it is because it's the Wyatt Sick. It's Bray's group. Bray will always be a part of it, and that's what the Lantern is there for. Now, the two that I've heard, I mean, one is pretty obvious about it, and that is the Princess of Darkness, the blissful bitch herself, Alexa. Have her, and the way that what I've heard, the rumor of this one is because Liv currently does not have a match for Money in the Bank yet. What if Alexa Bliss debuts at well, returns that Money in the Bank, but not takes the title from Bliss and then brings it back to the Wyatt City? And then the other one that I've heard, which is so far fetched, but it's WWE, and you can never put it past them. What if Chad Gable becomes the new Fiend?
Oh, hell no. No.
Because he's supposedly dead with a bullet hole. What if he's
I don't see
rebirthed
that.
as this?
No.
I know, that's why I said it's so far fetched, but you can't put it past it.
Right. So I've seen, Gable might have been the first target for him, but supposedly they could be after a couple other bigger name guys, one being Seth freaking Rollins. Because from what I've seen, you could see in the background of one part of that promo from Monday Night Raw that kicked off the show, Uncle Howdy's silhouette in the background watching. And their one thing for going after Gable is Gable stopped saying thank you and kind of turn on his family. Seth Rollins in his promo on Monday happened to bring up the fact that once upon a time, he also turned on his family when he took out the Shield. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there. I've also heard the Wyatt Six more than likely will show up on Friday Night SmackDown this Friday. So
we'll see. And it's funny you say that because there is some very easy targets, such as the Great Value Bloodline.
Right?
There's Bobby Lashley, who was supposed to be that next opponent for Bray Wyatt. And they want to talk about betrayal. Who on the SmackDown roster is known for betrayal?
Kevin Owens. Really, two people.
That's who I was going with. Well. I was going with Randy Orton. But how far back do they want this betrayal to go? Because technically, That would include the WWE champion Cody Rhodes, even though it was a long time ago when he turned his back on Hardcore Holly to team up with Ted DiBiase.
I don't think they go back that far.
But still, yeah,
Probably
I know
not.
shit.
Family, but still.
You know,
Never know. It's gonna be
we all have to say that Monday night, that was one of the greatest entrant re-debuts of a group. I mean, they just beat the shit out of everybody. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna say rest in peace, Chad Gable, because if he is, oh well, all right, we won't see him Monday night for the qualifier.
And
great.
that's
It
the
was
funny
definitely
thing, because there was a body that looked like Braun Strowman. It's not because Braun Strowman doesn't have a tattoo on his arm like that, but that was the thing. So does that mean Big Bronson Reed is going to automatically be in because Gable's dead and Braun, we don't know what's going on?
Did you feel like that guy that had the blood behind his back? Do you think that was Karrion Kross?
Do I think it was Carrion? No, but I think it was pointing to Carrion to be on the list of potential targets coming down the road. Just like the one that everyone says is Gunther. I feel it was someone to make to look like Gunther because that's going to be a target down the road.
And then they said that
yeah.
somebody
Same
From
looked
with
what I
like
Braun.
heard,
they said that
from what
somebody
I
looked like
heard,
even Carmelo Hayes.
yeah, but it wasn't him apparently. From what I heard, they were all extras that were used there. You weren't supposed to try and think that it was anybody specific that's on the roster.
Right. But my favorite one was the one that supposedly looked like Dom, and then someone
Yeah,
posted. Then someone commented and said, "It's okay. Dom's still alive." You see, Liv Morgan erected him. Yes, use the word erected, not resurrected. Erected.
alrighty then.
But we can't just stop at Monday Night Raw because I sent you guys the TikTok, and the same creepy sounds were made at the end of the Pat McAfee show. So I'm sure we'll get something on SmackDown about that. But could Pat McAfee have been the next target?
Yeah,
That's true.
who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
But I have to say the mask
I don't
of
think anybody's
all of
safe.
them, all the masks that they had on all of them, man, what some great work.
My favorite is Dexter Loomis's.
Yes,
I love that look.
He's the buzzard, right?
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah,
nice.
that one was
Yes.
Oh my god.
He's very-
I like Nikki Cross's one because it's out of that movie. You watch it and you die like 2 hours later.
The Ring.
Yeah, that's one. See, I was like, what the fuck is the name of that movie?
Yeah. Right. But yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting to see where exactly we go from here with the Wyatt sick. But an amazing debut, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from there tomorrow night on SmackDown. And hoping that the Wyatt feel can be added to it for the entire run that this faction has. And I feel like we're on the cusp of something very, very special with these guys.
Oh, one more. Like, this is another rumor, and I could see this happening. But hear me out. So, what if at Money in the Bank, someone is about to grab the Money in the Bank briefcase? Lights go out. Come back on, and Uncle Howdy is standing beneath the ladder with the briefcase. Forward to SummerSlam. Randy Orton turns heel and punts Cody Rhodes, winning the title. And then The Wyatt Stick attacks Randy Orton. Uncle Howdy cashes in and is your new WWE champion.
That could be interesting. We'll see. All right. Any last things you guys want to mention as we get ready to close this show out? Because we could talk rumors all night, but that.
Alexa, turn off light in bedroom.
All right. Well, we'll be back on the air in a couple weeks for our Money in the Bank prediction show. Well, guys, we thank you for joining us for this history of the Wyatt family. As we've got our Fireflies, we hope you guys do too. We're going to take you out with some Shatter.
We're here. When things break, things shatter. Keep it written on your face. The little details matter. Even a thick-head clatter disappear without a trace. While the whole world's laughing, but it's all in Alexa, turn on light in bedroom.